Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we are going to go through how to basically make your backgrounds bigger in Photoshop. So I am a little bit under the weather at the moment. I am currently recording this from my bed, so I'm hoping that this is going to go okay. We're on the MacBook Pro today, so it's a slightly smaller, more condensed screen, but everything should basically be exactly the same. If your Photoshop does not look the same as mine, please go ahead and watch the previous video on how to set up your Photoshop workspace to basically look like this. And of course, if you haven't already, please do go ahead and press the subscribe button and click the bell icon, because why would you not do that? That's just a nice thing to do. It would be great to have you on board. So I wanted to work on this image that we've got on the screen right now of Bramble. I've not done anything to it apart from lifting the shadows and reducing the highlights, because obviously this was a backlit situation and she is black, so there was quite a imbalance, I would say, in the lighting. So we're kind of at a point where I'm happy to bring it into Photoshop, so that is where we are. Now, Bramble is not a perfectly well-trained dog. She is a client dog and she did a nice sit and wait, but getting her mouth closed was a rarity, so it was not one of those situations where you can get perfect composition. We're not far off, she's nicely on a third, but let's go ahead and see where we're at compositionally. So if we go on to the original ratio, we've got the rule of thirds grid up. You could, if you wanted to, cycle through your crop overlays by pressing O and go through and just make sure that you're on the right compositional grid for the image. So this is the rule of thirds there. So in terms of the composition on this, I personally felt that there was a little bit too much space above because there wasn't a lot of space below. So what we can just go ahead and do is click and drag our crop, and what that does is, you see how that adds space below? So that's added a little bit of space there. I want to also go ahead and just add a little bit of space to this side, and I think if we were to go from there, that would be a pretty good composition. You can use your arrows to just nudge. So we've got these empty pixels down the sides, right? So there's nothing there, there's no image there. So if we were to just sort of lock that in, we would have to go ahead and clone all of the extra space, which is just time consuming and boring, and look, we don't need that in our lives. So what you can do is, up at the top here, there should be an option for content aware. If you have content aware checked and then lock in your crop with your extra space, Photoshop will make its best guess at filling those space areas. And usually it doesn't do a bad job, especially if you're using small little bits like we have in this particular image. So Photoshop there has just added that extra space, and we've ended up with a much more pleasing composition within the image. The composition of it now looks great. So that is one way to go ahead and add space. Okay, so I've got open now a slightly more difficult image to work with. So this image is slightly harder. Again, it's another one where composition in camera wasn't 100% perfect, but we need to add space. And in this situation, the space needs to be added to the right-hand side, because compositionally she's looking to the right, and therefore the space makes sense for it to be there. However, we have a tree. The tree is not going to help us in this situation at all, and actually it probably would look better if the background was the other way round, in terms of having all of this bokeh to the right hand side, but it's not the end of the world. So let's use that same method and see what it gives us. So this time we're adding a lot of space to one side, taking a little bit off the top, and we've got all of these empty pixels here, completely empty. Let's see how Photoshop does at filling that in with this content aware option selected. Okay, so you can see that we've got this kind of enormous tree here, which isn't kind of useful really. So what we can do is we can undo. So let's go back to our original image, and at this stage what I want to do is I want to duplicate that layer. So I've got 2 layers here. By duplicating, all I'm doing is pressing Command and J. If you want a Windows, Control J. So with that done, we unselect delete cropped pixels, grab our crop tool once more, and go back to that original crop that we kind of wanted earlier on. So something like that I think would be quite nice. Her eyes on the 3rd line there, close to the cross point, enough space on the left and a lot of space on the right. And let's click yes on that and see how Photoshop feels. So again, same result. That's fine because we've got a plan B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this bottom layer, layer 0 in this situation, and pop that up at the top. Then I'm going to do Command T to grab my transform, and then I'm going to right click and select flip horizontal. What that's done is that's given us the image again but placed over the top. So it's kind of giving us some pixels to pick from. Now what I'm doing is, if you see the tree here and then there's this tree here in this image, in this side of the image, and then the floor, as you can see, the floor is here. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of lining the 2 up there so that I can press enter, and therefore that will save that transformation in, and then I can go ahead and grab a mask. So I'm going to just make sure that layer 0 is selected, and then I'm going to hold down Option on my keyboard or Alt on a Windows and just click the mask layer, which will give us a black mask. Then I'm going to grab a brush, a nice big soft brush on 100% opacity, maybe a little bit smaller than that, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint back over this area here, just that area. I'm not too concerned about having bramble in there, but you can just brush her back out. And this area here is a little bit light, so I'm just going to maybe go 50%, flip my brush and just bring back a little bit more of that section there. We've got a line of bram here, so we want to make sure that's out. So this section of the image is absolutely fine. We just have this edge to work on now, which is not really going to be a problem. So a nice small brush here, we're dusting into the image, and then I'm not sure if you remember, but in the last video we went through how to do straight lines. So we just hold down Shift after clicking and we can get a straight line. So by doing that, we've essentially made our tree a lot thinner, and we could bring back some of this ground area too to just give the track a little bit more shape there. And of course you can kind of go as far as you want to go with something like this, but that's absolutely fine for me because then I can build my edit on top of that. So the before in this situation, after we've done our Content Aware fill, looked like this. We've shrunk the tree a little bit and given ourselves a little bit more space, and then we can edit on top of that. And yes, losing that super bright bit of bokeh has been a little bit sad. You could always bring that back through. So the bright bokeh bit is there. Trying to remember where it is. That? Nearly. That. Okay, so you can just bring through, if you wanted to, that bit of bokeh as something to look at. And that's just by just using the mask like normal. So that will give you that element of the image back in, but the rest of it out, and therefore you end up with a much less distracting image. If this video has been useful for you, please do remember to press the subscribe button. It would be lovely to have you on board. And if you haven't already, I just want to wish you all the best and a happy new year. We've got some exciting news that we're releasing in the next few days. So please do stick around and I'll see you then. See you really soon.